Silwana Gagau, can you hear me?
Welcome back to Vryburg Showgrounds for the main celebration for Women's Day. The mood down here is one of celebration still. Of course, we are celebrating women today. My next guest is the acting minister for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mayor Thoko Didiza. Welcome, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. Women's Day today. Happy Women's Day to you.
Thank you very much. Happy Women's Day to you and all the women in South Africa and globally.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about the challenges that women are facing. Now we're focusing on, especially in different sectors in the professional space. Is it still a challenge for women to move up the ladder?
Well, maybe before we start in looking at the challenges that women face today, we need to celebrate the contribution that women have made in the struggle for our liberation, and they still continue to struggle to build a better South Africa and a better Africa and a better world. Yes, there still remain challenges today. Some of those face society generally, the issue of poverty, unemployment and underdevelopment. And unfortunately, the face of poverty in our country is still that of a woman. Women are still not having enough access to land, particularly in rural areas and in commercial agriculture in particular. Women in the professions are still having a challenge in going up the ladder, even though we've taken progressive policies as a country in terms of women's empowerment and women's emancipation. What you would find is that they'll incorporate, in particular, there'll be many women in the middle and lower strata, but when you go up to the executive levels and even in the board of directors, women are still very few where decisions are made. And these are some of the issues that we must continue to strive for even today. Even in the media, if you talk of the sector where we're in, there are still very few women in the leadership position in the media space.
Okay, Acting Minister, and in as much as we do celebrate the strides that have been made so far, we also know that they come with some criticism. One being that there's always these summits and these workshops where resolutions have been taken about tackling issues such as gender-based violence, for example. But now the criticism is lack of implementation or slow implementation is the problem in the country. In your view, what is the situation in regards to implementation of resolutions that are being taken year after year?
Maybe let me say summits, conferences are important as spaces for conversation, as spaces for reflection, in better understanding the present as well as the past and charting the way forward. So resolutions are usually taken to take us from where we are to the next step in our lives. And I would say in the implementation, there has been implementation, obviously in some instances lacking. But let's look at issues of gender-based violence. I think for me, legislation has been put, enforcement by the law enforcement agency is done, but what we also need to change is attitudes and culture, where from an early age we start to teach respect of one another amongst genders, amongst our little children, but also to try to unlearn certain behaviors. Like sometimes when we raise children, we will say, boys don't cry. How else do they express their frustration and anger? And we say, boys don't do this. Women, are supposed to be in the kitchen. Some of these things that at times they just come normally because of our socialization are the things that we must learn so that from an early age we start to create a culture of respect among men and women, a culture of, accepting that women can also participate in other spaces in terms of their employment and their choices must be respected. But also even our young boys to also learn that when a woman says no, the no is a no. So those are some of the issues, in my view, in the broader struggle of, fighting against patriarchy, but also gender-based violence, are very critical and important.
Okay, and then also with regards to policies and laws and legislations and the system there by our government, is it strengthened enough, especially since 1994, to protect women? For example, when we look at the South African Police Service, the system of protection order, it's not really effectively helping women, because many women die with protection orders in their hands. For example, when people go to court, there are reports saying that there is a slow response in, conviction rate, and also justice being served. In fact, it says that 1 in 9 cases do see the cases being finalized and conviction being done. How can we improve some of these things, because they are arrested but then released on bail too fast?
Well, as you said, policies are there, and in my view, they are stronger. Legislation is there. I think they are equally stronger. But what we need is effective implementation and monitoring. But also we need mobilization of women and our society in general to make sure that we actually put pressure on our law enforcement agencies when it comes to issues of conviction, but also we create spaces of supporting those women who feel vulnerable so that they're able to to speak out on the challenges that they face. And how do we support women who are having such challenges in our society, as well as how to ensure that our judiciary is also sensitive in reflecting on the issues of gender-based violence and women's abuse in general.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mayor Thoko Didiza, telling us that the country is trying hard to protect women in society. For now, it's back to you in studio.